Strategy 8. The Gilding Strategy. Welcome back to the Heavenly Secrets Unrevealed channel. Today we will explore the next strategy in the collection of 36 human harmony strategies, a treasure trove of ancient wisdom containing profound lessons and techniques on how to behave and communicate in life. In the previous video we discussed the 7th strategy, the provocation strategy, which focuses on using words and actions to evoke emotions, particularly the opponent's competitive spirit to achieve one's goals. Now we will continue to explore the 8th strategy called the Gilding Strategy. The Gilding Strategy focuses on highlighting one's own value and concealing flaws to achieve objectives in communication and interactions. If you prefer a different term instead of strategy, or have other specific preferences, please let me know. How to enhance your own value. In today's fiercely competitive social interactions, if you don't know how to highlight your merits, even possessing great treasures within will be of no use. You must not only accomplish tasks, but also know how to gild your own image. The core of the gilding strategy consists of the following key points. Your aura should not shine too frequently. You must present something new and showcase your talents to make others see you as a rare gem. Polishing your image creates more opportunities. Casually display a brilliant move or boldly make a striking statement. What is unattainable is naturally perceived as the best. Stay elusive and maintain an air of mystery, avoiding casual promises and keep others constantly anticipating your presence. Dig deep into your strengths, showcase your fortes, and conceal your weaknesses. Let's dive deeper into the gilding strategy. First, how does one perform the art of spitting pearls and blooming flowers? A son of a renowned English writer accompanied his father to meet Winston Churchill, who had been the Prime Minister's literature teacher. He recalled a story from 1949 that took place on Queen Maria's yacht. That day, I was dressed impeccably and entered Churchill's cabin feeling nervous. To my relief, Churchill wasn't there. The cabin was crowded with guests and Lady Churchill was introducing them when suddenly an O echoed. I turned around to see Churchill standing in the room, a massive cigar in his mouth. He wore an odd outfit I'd never seen before, a grey jumpsuit made of a fabric resembling sailcloth. Later I learned it was the same attire he wore during World War II. He moved through the crowd shaking hands as he went. Then he took my father's hand and led him to the other end of the room. I pushed forward, and at that moment Churchill's eyes met mine. He smiled and gestured for me to join him. As I approached, my father gave me a stern look, signaling you must stay absolutely silent. Churchill spoke about his speech at Missouri State University, where he first used the phrase Iron Curtain. My father said your prediction has once again come true and there are alarming differences of opinion in England and the West. What do you plan to do? Churchill didn't answer immediately. He glanced at me as if wondering whether I understood, then surveyed the room. Speaking slowly, as if addressing Parliament, he said, "Well, now, you want me to walk across a tightrope over a deep chasm." The room erupted in laughter. Only then, since entering, did I feel at ease. I relaxed and almost instinctively spoke up. "Mr. Churchill, if the Russians succeed in developing an atomic bomb, do you think they would hesitate to use it?" My father glared and shook his head, staring at me intensely. I instantly regretted speaking out of turn, but Churchill seemed intrigued. He said, "Well, we'll decide based on the situation then, won't we? The East might have 3 atomic bombs, the West might have 100. But what if it's the other way around?" My father was about to speak, but Churchill continued, his voice growing louder. You know, when it comes to atomic bombs." The room fell silent. Churchill seemed to struggle for the right words to express his thoughts. At the time, I didn't realize he was deliberately pausing to capture everyone's attention. I thought he was flustered, unable to articulate his ideas. For some reason, my father didn't step in to help. So I spoke up. "Sir, are you saying it's entirely a matter of balance?" My father's eyes widened in panic as he stepped forward, but Churchill, with a majestic gesture, held up his cigar. The object everyone revered pointed at me and said, "That's the word. Absolutely right. Balance is a fine word, but in times of war or peace, people often forget it. Young man, you should say this word every morning when you wake up and repeat it while shaving in front of the mirror." My head spun. I noticed my father was no longer angry. He even seemed proud, listening quietly as others discussed, as if to say, "This kid has truly stood out, Gilding, even his old man's reputation bringing great honor. He's no scholar, but the key is he dared to speak." In truth, it wasn't a difficult question, but it was striking and left a deep impression on everyone. In daily interactions, countless university students and professors may have similar opportunities. The key lies in the impression you make. If you leave a positive impression, others will see you as capable, even if they themselves aren't experts. Even when facing an expert, if you discuss a topic outside their expertise, what's there to fear? Here are some masterful techniques. First technique, cite elegant phrases. Fragrant yet nourishing, bitter yet refreshing. Bitter, medicine cures ailments. Every object has its distinctions and serves a unique purpose. What impression do these words give? We can tell the speaker isn't a doctor but possesses knowledge of medicine, not a simple feat. During conversations, if you can appropriately and naturally cite culturally rich references, it will enhance your image. Second technique, highlight small details. Human energy is limited, but life is full of fascinating small stories. In great works, minor characters are often overlooked. If you can clearly discuss these minor figures during a conversation, others will see you as erudite and deeply knowledgeable. For example, saying, "My town has over 3 million people" may not impress, but saying the population is 3012 Sauerland with precise figures delivered smoothly will make others admire your intelligence and seriousness. Third technique, use versatile adjectives. There are adjectives that can apply to almost anything. When asked for your opinion on a work, movie, or music you're unfamiliar with, you can say, "I prefer the earlier works, they're more pristine." Few know that pristine means original or earlier. Or, "I prefer the later works, they're more mature." Either way, you won't reveal your unfamiliarity with the subject. Fourth technique, offer hard-to-refute opinions. During conversations, someone might ask, "What's your view?" But you may not want to reveal your true thoughts or simply not care about the topic. Perhaps you're recalling an interesting story from your bus ride or trying to remember the actress in Gilligan's Island. In such cases, use one of these neutral responses. It depends on the specific circumstances. It's hard to generalize. In other cases, it might not be so. These statements are difficult to challenge and help you avoid awkward situations. Fifth technique, avoid right or wrong. Stir the waters to profit. I once met someone who used incredibly clever response tactics to the point I nearly shouted, "Get lost." For example, when asked, "Have you read Don Quixote?" he replied, "I haven't started yet." I'm certain he hadn't read it, but how could you refute that? Another time I asked if he'd read Dante's Inferno, he said, "Not the English version." I was instantly in awe. His response could be interpreted in 3 ways. First, he had read the book. Second, he was proficient in 14th century Latin. Third, he was a purist scholar who didn't need English translations. Truly brilliant. The second key aspect of the Gilding strategy is taking action in a crisis. Andre, a phone operator at a bus depot in the United States, faced a chaotic morning when the bus route suddenly malfunctioned, causing widespread disruption. His supervisor was absent, so what could be done? In such situations, someone with decision-making authority must step in to resolve the crisis. If Andre had boldly issued orders, he risked being fired or even facing legal trouble. Others might have chosen to stay out of it, thinking, "This isn't my problem, why invite trouble?" But Andre was no ordinary person. Instead of standing idly by, he took charge, issuing orders and even signing documents on behalf of his supervisor. By the time his supervisor arrived, the situation was under control and the routes were operational again. Andre's bold and decisive actions earned high praise from his supervisor. Upon hearing the report, the company's CEO immediately transferred him to headquarters, promoted him, and entrusted him with more significant responsibilities. From then on, Andre's career soared unstoppable. Reflecting on the event later, Andre shared, "From the moment I joined the company, I had opportunities to interact with senior leaders. That gave me a huge advantage, like winning half the battle. If you achieve something significant and don't get promoted, that's what's surprising. Consider this scenario. The meeting's host is a stern figure, revered by all, causing everyone to suppress their personal opinions, ensuring the meeting runs smoothly. As the saying goes, a wise man may be foolish once, and a fool may be wise once. If you notice a flaw in the decision that could lead to problems if implemented, you should bravely speak up. Be aware, though, that even if you propose a solution with utmost sincerity, others may not agree. However, this is a chance to showcase your ability and value to leaders and colleagues, especially if your suggestion is ignored. When the decision fails, people will recall your proposal and praise your foresight. Don't be overly cautious. If you believe you're right, speak up and never let pride hold you back. If you hesitate, thinking, "What if my words upset others?" it shows you're not a person of true worth. We often encounter people with higher status, intellect, experience, or ability. In such situations, some feel inferior, fearing they don't measure up, which leads to a lack of confidence. Confidence is the cornerstone of success. Without confidence, success is merely a fantasy. No matter the circumstances, as long as you hold on to confidence, there's hope for success. Lack of confidence manifests in many ways. For example, you might want to approach someone superior, but fear rejection. You want to share your opinion, but worry about poor delivery and being mocked. You want to join a conversation, but fear your ideas will be ignored or even disliked. As a result, you retreat to a quiet corner, accepting isolation. In reality, you can cast aside hesitation and stubborn doubts, speaking and acting openly. As long as you act appropriately without going overboard, you'll be welcomed by others. In life and work, certain principles and experiences can help you succeed without causing resentment or creating unnecessary rivals. First, principle. Work earnestly, but showcase yourself at the right moment. To be recognized, you must do real work while also knowing how to display your abilities tactfully. First, even in small tasks like cleaning or wiping tables, if you put in genuine effort and thought you could be promoted to lead the cleaning team. Second, when you stand out, avoid being overly showy. Excessive prominence may breed envy or even make others see you as a rival. Showcase your abilities reasonably enough to earn recognition without making others feel threatened. Second principle, don't display your talents too frequently or excessively. If you perform brilliantly every day, people will take it for granted or even think you're showing off. Reserve some of your best moves for critical moments. By revealing your talents, gradually keeping others intrigued by your novelty, they'll look forward to what you bring next. When people can't fully gauge your capabilities, they'll trust you more and entrust you with greater responsibilities. Third principle, eliminate anxiety by identifying others' weaknesses. One of the best ways to boost confidence is to understand the flaws of your peers or superiors. Doing so removes feelings of awkwardness or fear. In the Japanese collection of humorous stories Truong Ok Thuong Hoa, there's a tale. A poor man went to the suburbs to admire flowers surrounded by wealthy, elegantly dressed people. Looking at himself, he sighed. Everyone is dressed so finely while my clothes are tattered. If I took them off, they wouldn't even be fit for others to wipe their feet. A person nearby responded, "Strip away the skin and we're all just white bones." Why feel inferior? When someone seems too powerful or intimidating, remember they're human like you with their own worries, mistakes and imperfections. This mindset reduces fear and boosts confidence. Fourth principle, use unconventional tricks to reassure yourself. I once used an unconventional trick to overcome my fears. In high school, I was terrified of exams. Entering the exam room, my body would tense up and I'd tremble uncontrollably. To counter this, I reminded myself of the invigilator's flaws, such as, the invigilator took exams, once cheated like me, and felt nervous just like me. This thought calmed me significantly, and my exam results improved markedly. The third key aspect of the gilding strategy is creating a sense of mystery. What is unseen is often perceived as the best, as the power of imagination surpasses that of sight. To maintain an air of mystery, prominent figures rarely appear in public, sparking longing in others. A lion that lingers too closely with others loses its majesty and is seen as a mere mouse. This principle is especially evident in love. Below is the experience of Ms. Thatch Truc. In Ms. Thatch Truc's philosophy, a traditional young woman should not interact casually with men unless she truly loves someone. When engaging with men, she must always maintain refined speech behavior and demeanor, remaining exemplary and elegant. Once she forms a close bond with a man, she should love him for life, hoping for a lifelong commitment. However, being close with two men simultaneously would be utterly unacceptable. To meet the demands of this outdated traditional mindset, Thatch Truc often poured out all her emotions in a short time. She would do anything for her boyfriend, inviting him to meals, treating him, buying him clothes, taking him to movies, having coffee, or even arranging his daily routine. In short, she was at his beck and call, ensuring his satisfaction. Initially, some boyfriends were touched by her enthusiasm and intended to treat her well in return. But after a date, just as they were about to pursue her actively, Thatch Truc's impatience led her to reveal too much affection. Upon reflection, her boyfriends lost interest and grew distant. One by one, they packed up and fled, leaving her confused, unaware of the cause. Typically, men react in two ways to such overwhelming affection. Some exploit the woman's devotion while remaining cautious to avoid getting too involved. Others, fearing a trap, swiftly cut ties and run. Before any man or woman should not appear overly eager. She must make him believe she has other suitors besides him. Men are naturally driven to conquer. If a woman has no competitors, he will quickly seek another who does. In psychology, there's the value escalation principle. The harder something is to attain, the more it is desired. This is especially true in romantic relationships. At tourist sites, why do female entertainers who interact with men daily struggle to find true love? Generally, what comes too easily is easily forgotten. Thus, a woman shouldn't immediately comply with every request, but should tactfully refuse at times to preserve a sense of mystery. If a man invites her for an outing, she should say she'd love to go but already has plans with someone else. This approach sparks his interest in her. Men often seek women who are pursued by others. The more competitors, the more intrigued they become. Winning such a woman brings them pride. A woman no one notices, however, holds little appeal. Thatch Truc asked me, "Won't this make men think I'm too casual?" I replied honestly. "Try it, then ask me again." Soon after, she realized her past actions were like a phoenix with broken wings. Former boyfriends who once ignored her now saw her as a moon among stars, vying to win her favor. At this point, Trug also realized she no longer loved her old flame. She became close with more men and, most importantly, learned to protect herself to avoid losing the one she truly loved. Creating desire isn't limited to romance. First method. Frequently say, "I'm too busy." No time? This makes others perceive you as successful. In reality, truly, our busy people don't talk about it much. Some, when asked about recent events, reply without thinking, "So busy, barely any time," with a satisfied air. If the other person responds, "Oh, that sounds tough," or "No matter talented people are always busy," their face lights up and they humbly say, "Well, it's a hard life," while inwardly celebrating. They don't care much about life's complexities, but complain to imply they bear great responsibilities, not that they're ordinary or useless. Such people use busyness as a pretext to showcase ability and elevate their value. This makes others eager to meet the super busy person. Second method, fill your notebook or diary and accidentally let others see it. This creates the impression that you're highly active. In others' eyes, a busy person with many connections can't be incompetent, fostering a desire to emulate you. Third method, exaggerate grand ambitions and a bright future. A writer once published an article about a childhood friend who in his youth had big dreams and often told others, "I'll definitely become a parliament member someday." Though he hasn't achieved that dream, his colleagues at the time remarked, "This guy has far-reaching vision, he's impressive." The company even noted having someone so ambitious in our company is rare. As a result, he was quickly promoted to department head and soon after became deputy director. There are many ways to earn admiration, but one of the most effective is making others believe you have great potential. To show your promise, paint a vivid, grand picture of your future. Even if it's unrealistic, it can leave a strong impression. For instance, you might tell colleagues or friends, "I'll build my own business in the future and will definitely execute this plan." Repeated often, even skeptics will start to think, "Don't underestimate this guy. He could achieve something great and glorious." Fourth method, make a girl feel you have a bright future to pursue you. When trying to win a girl's heart, you can casually talk about the future you envision. If she already has feelings for you, hearing these words will secretly delight her, making her believe she's found an ideal boyfriend. She might even go out of her way to support you. Whether you actually turn those words into reality is another matter. Since what is unattainable is always perceived as the best, you shouldn't let others easily have you. Instead, make them yearn for you. For example, you could say, "It's not convenient to talk about now, but my future will surely be brilliant." This sparks curiosity and anticipation in others. Speaking of love, if a girl meets a guy for the first time without any closeness by the second meeting, they may not be able to restrain their surging emotions. Sitting close, they whisper, "I love you, you love me." By the third meeting, they grow more intimate, embracing and kissing. In the second week, they write love letters, daily call each other to confess their feelings and express longing. So, what's the next act to make the performance even more outstanding and captivating? It's lingering in a garden of flowers. Even grass becomes fragrant. There are many ways to elevate your value in others' eyes, but one of the simplest and most effective is to mingle with the elite and adopt their demeanor. In society, a casual remark from a president can become a life-saving straw for the media. A waiter frequently seen in millionaire circles might be mistaken for a low-key aristocrat. Below are effective methods to craft a sophisticated and prestigious image. First method, play the role of a regular guest at high-end estates. People often assume that those who frequent luxurious venues and socialize with the elite are themselves part of that class. Some swindlers exploit this psychology, posing as high society figures. Luxury restaurants and top-tier hotels are prime stages for these master deceivers to perform their scams. Before acting, they meticulously research the venue's layout, facilities, and menu. When entertaining their target, they behave like seasoned patrons. With skilled acting, even the most cautious can be fooled. They might say, "This restaurant's menu is renowned, and the flavors suit refined tastes." When you need the restroom, they point the way with precision. With their attentive hospitality, your guard gradually lowers and you step into their carefully laid trap. Similarly, if you take a girl to a high-end restaurant, act familiar with the staff and casually ask, "Is the place busy lately?" or "What's good today?" she'll assume you're a regular. This technique has a solid psychological foundation. When negotiating with a business partner who doesn't fully trust you, this approach can also yield results. If you invite a long-admired girl to dinner and apply this method, she'll likely lower her defenses, see you as reliable, and begin to imagine a romantic future with you. Thus, by thoroughly researching upscale venues and entering with the confidence of a homeowner, you can lead others to mistake you for a regular. Second method: socialize naturally with the elite. When you appear at ease among influential people, others readily assume you hold a special status. For example, Haibo Lang, a Japanese deputy commercial director and master swindler, used this tactic with great success. To boost his image, he would casually mention famous political figures, even if he'd never met them, saying things like, "I just got a call from Mr. Jian Trung," or "I attended Fukuda's press conference." Casually, name-dropping prominent figures is a tactic to elevate your image. How you address someone can imply familiarity and social standing. For instance, calling Prime Minister Jian Trung is less effective than Mr. Jian Trung. Calling Mr. Jian Trung is less effective than simply Jian Trung. The more familiar and natural your address, the more others believe you have close ties with such figures. However, this method requires caution. Without sufficient knowledge of the person you mention, you risk exposure and loss of credibility. Third method: subtly display connections with the wealthy. Boasting verbally is ineffective. If your words don't align with your behavior and image, you'll become a laughingstock. If your behavior and image are decent, a few well-placed remarks in the right context can work wonders. The key is to avoid directly flaunting your prestige. Indirect, subtle hints often yield better results. For example, during a conversation, you might praise someone who spends lavishly as someone who knows how to enjoy life. Listeners may infer you share that trait. In a certain company, employees love discussing their wives' extravagance. One said, "If money in my wallet never ran out, my wife's wouldn't stay put either." Another added, "My wife admits she loves spending, but don't call her extravagant, find a fresher word." These jests seem mocking, but from another angle they show the employees' love and pride for their wives, believing them to be more stylish and attractive than others. Joking about their wives' lavishness is a subtle way to express affection and pride rather than overt boasting. Fourth method: fabricate a pedigree to build an image of a prestigious lineage. Some enhance their reputation by claiming descent from renowned families. A prime example is Kong Tuong-hee, China's plenipotentiary ambassador in 1937. While leading a delegation to England for the king's coronation, he claimed to be the 75th direct descendant of Confucius to gain respect. In reality, the official Kong family genealogy in Khufu, Shandong had no record of him. To legitimize his claim, he bribed someone listed in the Kong family genealogy to secure a place, built a family shrine with 2,000 wen in his hometown to create false evidence, frequently quoted the Analects and Mencius in speeches to reinforce his image. As a result, in England, Kong Tuong-hee was not only welcomed as China's ambassador, but also celebrated as a descendant of the world's oldest noble lineage. In society, personal image can be crafted in many ways, and projecting an air of prestige is one of the most compelling. Mingling with the elite using refined language, showing familiarity with prominent figures, and even fabricating a pedigree are all tactics to elevate your value. However, success with these strategies requires subtlety to avoid overexposure. A carefully crafted image can bring significant benefits to your career and life. The fifth key aspect of the gilding strategy is wearing fine silk not for the lowly. A certain gentleman shared a simple yet thought-provoking story. One summer afternoon, I went to a hotel to visit a friend from Hong Kong. Since the hotel was near my home, I wore a casual shirt. The doorman chased me into the elevator, questioning who I was, which annoyed me greatly. I couldn't help but snap a few sharp words, making him retreat in embarrassment. When I told my friend about it, he laughed and said, "You dressed a bit too simply." From then on, no matter how busy I was, I always dressed impeccably when going to public places. Clearly, judging someone by their clothes is a lack of manners, but conversely, isn't neglecting your appearance a lack of respect for others? Similarly, consider jewelry. Many women wear jewelry not to show off or flaunt wealth, but for social interactions and to maintain dignity in formal settings. Some women, married to men who frequently attend meetings or handle ceremonial duties, must wear jewelry. One such woman wrote, "In truth, I don't want to wear much jewelry. On regular days, I go out without it. But when accompanying my husband to important events, I can't avoid it." In such formal occasions, not wearing jewelry makes you look out of place. Since we have these engagements, I have no choice but to own a lot of jewelry. In reality, jewelry helps create a refined image, which is quite normal. Here are some methods to achieve this. First method: acquire luxurious items. As long as you don't appear stingy, no one will call you stingy. Invest in items that hold their value, like a piece of jade, which may cost thousands but can be resold, sometimes at a profit. Spending tens of thousands on a famous watch can also yield a higher resale price later. A Western friend of mine changed cars every year, earning much envy. His secret: he bought used cars that could still be resold. Each year, he sold the old one and bought a new one, making people think he was immensely wealthy. Among women who wear jewelry, some use it to appear superior, like a phoenix among chickens. For them, flaunting wealth is the primary purpose of wearing jewelry. Second method: fashion, can create a bold impression. Movie stars dress and accessorize in striking ways to leave a strong impression on the public and attract more admiration. Amid this wave of idol worship, some women dye their hair blonde platinum or white. Men grow long hair or wear long skirts. Women cut their hair short, wear suits, and tie neckties. Men don't look like men. Women don't look like women. The old don't seem old. The young don't seem young. Everything is chaotic and bizarre, as if that's the point of the trend. Following this fashion doesn't cost much, making it ideal for young people. As the proverb says, a person is beautiful because of silk, just as rice thrives with fertilizer. If you dress sloppily, it's no different from inviting disdain. In a crowd surrounded by others, standing out awkwardly without considering your attire simply won't do. Moreover, remember, no matter how exceptional you are, never criticize fashion in public. Fashion is a friend to the masses, including you. Denouncing it is like denouncing them, which won't leave a good impression. People will say, "This guy's nothing special, he's like a clown or a beggar, so ridiculous." Your mind must be clear, but your words must align with the crowd. Rejecting societal norms or denying the reality that people judge by appearance will drown you in the public scorn. The sixth and final key aspect of the gilding strategy is when wealth is lacking, character suffices. In society, not only those adorned with gold and silver are deemed valuable. Most people are financially modest, and even with their best efforts, they cannot become wealthy. Some also dislike appearing ostentatious. Thus, By leveraging your unique traits to create a distinct style, others are less likely to look down on you. Some embody the adage, a true master hides their brilliance, or a sage in the marketplace. Here are several cost-free methods to achieve this. First method: preserve your unique characteristics. A neighbor of mine over a decade ago moved from the countryside to the city. The husband worked as a sanitation worker and was looked down upon by urban locals. In recent years, with their children married and living independently, the couple started selling fried cakes. Gradually prospering, they built and expanded a splendid home. Instead of buying trendy wall cabinets costing thousands, they hired a rural carpenter to craft an intricately carved, traditional four-spirit sofa set exuding classic beauty. The wife embroidered pillowcases, tablecloths, and curtains in traditional patterns. Both maintained a calm demeanor and spoke with dignity. Their neighbors couldn't help but admire their cultured lifestyle. Second method: each person has their social ladder. The ancients, when critiquing literature, often said, "A house full of gold and jade is not true wealth." This means a family's behavior determines its place on the social ladder. I once visited a family with a friend for some business. Their home was dazzlingly decorated, but the father was coarsely scolding his child, forcing them to practice on an expensive, imported piano. The hostess, beaming, welcomed us walking on plush carpets and first asked us to remove our shoes and wear slippers. In truth, no matter how wealthy a family is without the refined demeanor of the elite, it remains merely a merchant's household. For a family to ascend the social ladder and elevate their life, they must create an atmosphere of warmth, elegance, and endless enjoyment. In northern regions, I've seen wealthy families decorate their homes with modern audio-visual equipment, yet adorned with scenery. Poorer families use traditional paper-cut flower patterns like those in restaurants. Regardless of wealth or education, a family's unique refinement reflects their distinct character, giving the impression of a high social standing. Third method: stay informed about the latest books and publications. 8 years ago, I bought the bestseller Vegetable Root Discourse. A friend saw it and praised me for being ahead of the times. If you engage with best-selling books, trending phrases, or the latest fashion, others will give you a thumbs up. Fourth method: be a warm-hearted person. No one can avoid failure. When defeated, if you can shake the winner's hand and sincerely congratulate them, others will be touched by your open-heartedness. If you accidentally harm someone, apologize. Exaggerating your fault, turning a 3-part mistake into a 5-part one, not only resolves the conflict but also creates a golden impression, making others deeply appreciate your sincerity and regard you as admirable. If you care for the elderly or disabled around you, offering help and comfort people will see you as kind. Fifth method: maintain appropriate demeanor and graceful conduct. To demonstrate your extraordinary poise and calm confidence, strive to carry yourself with dignity, move deliberately, and act with the solemnity and steadiness of Mount Tai. When discussing important matters or responding to others, avoid glancing sideways and look directly into their eyes. This enhances the persuasiveness of your words and leaves an impression of strength and uprightness. A person with a composed gait earns admiration and respect, far surpassing the effect of being draped in wealth. This creates a beautiful social impact that overshadows any flaws. Some people have a facade like an unfinished house, dazzling in front, but a shanty in the back. Displaying yourself modestly but consistently is immediately recognized by the discerning. Thus, focusing on self-presentation without emphasizing character and demeanor will ultimately harm you.